What's going on, y'all? It's JD Piquel with On 3 today on the Hard Count. We're going to talk about some injuries and what they mean for the University of Texas. Welcome into the Hard Count, the people show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a daily basis. Nick Brake does the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. So Texas had their first fall scrimmage the other day, and unfortunately, you got the worst kind of news down there in Austin with some really key injuries. You got your left guard, Junior Angilau, hurt his knee, a really serious knee injury, it sounds like. We're not going to report on exactly what that is just yet. Isaiah Neyor, also a serious knee injury. It sounds like both of those are season-ending. In addition to that, you got Roschon Johnson, who has an undetermined timetable for his injury. It sounds like it's a high ankle sprain. Don't know exactly how long that'll keep him out for. Again, more information to come. So undetermined, not sure, but looks like it's less serious than both Neyor and Angilau. So obviously, anytime you have injuries in a fall camp scrimmage setting, that is the absolute last thing you want to have happen. And that's kind of a no-duh scenario, right? Like, no-duh, you don't want some of your key players getting hurt. You don't want anybody getting hurt. That is the absolute last thing you want to have happen in these scenarios. Unfortunately for Texas, it happened at some really key positions. We're just going to go down the list here and talk about what these injuries ultimately mean and how Texas is going to try and address these essentially going forward. So for Junior Angilau, a guy that had a lot of starts at Texas, as a guy who has a lot of experience at Texas and was someone you were counting on going into this coming year. He's a guy that also got reps at center in the scrimmage, it sounds like, in an effort to ultimately add bigger bodies to the line. And so now it's no secret that the offensive line for Texas, in some sense, is going to be young. You got Kelvin Banks already more or less penciled in as a freshman, as a freshman starter at some position on the line. And for Angilau, being an upperclassman, it looks like now you're going to have to go with another freshman in Cole Hudson, who's probably going to get the first crack at these reps. Whether he wins the position or not is still to be determined. But as a whole, you just lose someone who's going to, like I said, had a lot of experience. Now you got to go to somebody who likely will be a freshman, so that's more youth on the offensive line. Not to say that Cole Hudson can't do the job, but when you lose that many starts on your offensive line, it hurts you. Not to mention you have a quarterback's first year in the system and a second-year head coach. You got to have the offensive line have some security there, right? You got to have some sense of direction, if that makes sense. So to call a spade, this is bad news for Texas to have Junior Angilau likely done for the year. Absolutely hate that for him, a guy who's poured so much into the program at Texas, wishing him a speedy recovery. Isaiah Neyor, freak show, had done a lot of great things up to this point in fall camp and in the spring. He popped in the spring in for a big-time touchdown from Quinn Ewers, a guy you were really excited about. Looks like he's also done for the year. And he was a guy they were really going to depend on to be potentially a number 1B wide receiver next to Xavier Worthy. I mean, playing opposite of him. The whole hope was, okay, now we have two ballers on the outside. You can't double both of them. Pick your poison. And so especially in the wake of the Agiai Hall incident that's going on right now, and Steve Sarkisian, as of the recording of this video, has said, hey, he is indefinitely suspended, was arrested and accused of a criminal mischief charge, accused of tampering with a parking boot. So it's not good news there. Not sure when he'll be available. So all that's to say, you were looking at a position that was potentially going to be a strength for you at Texas and have some more depth with Neyor, with Hall, with Whittington, with Worthy. And now you're saying no Hall for the foreseeable future. Again, that's an indefinite timetable as of this recording. And then Neyor likely for the year. And so now what it comes down to, you just got to have some guys that are unproven step up. And in year two, when you have a guy like Quinn Ewers, who on paper should be a guy to take you to new heights in this offense, and you have one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the country in Bijan Robinson, now you're asking guys that haven't necessarily been in a starting role before to step up and carry more of the load. So who's that going to be? Like I said, at left guard, it could be Cole Hudson, the freshman. At running back, we didn't even talk about this. Roschon Johnson sprained his ankle likely, and he's probably done for, it sounds like, potentially 4 to 6 weeks. Again, that's not confirmed. That is the rumor that we're talking about right now. Roschon Johnson, the heart and soul of this team, if you lose him, you lose, again, someone who's a leader and someone who does a great job in pass pro, is a great complement to Bijan Robinson, a guy that you can depend on and give carries to, which we saw do at times last year. Now you got to have Keelan Robinson, the Alabama transfer. He's got to step up. You have to have guys like Brennan Thompson step up at wide receiver, Jordan Whittington carry more of a load of wide receiver. So all this does is just shift the load to other guys on your roster that have, I don't want to say less excitement, but in some cases outside of a guy like Jordan Whittington, you have guys that are less proven, guys that are underclassmen, guys that you have to depend on now that have to step up to the plate in a big way for your football team to be successful. So your heart breaks for these kids. I mean, Isaiah Neyor was primed for a big year. Angilau, in my opinion, was primed for a big year, and they were going to depend on him a lot on the offensive line. Roschon Johnson sounds like he'll be back, unsure when, but he's a guy that they rally around, is the vocal leader, is the heart and soul of this team. Like I already mentioned, he's a guy that they go with him. I mean, they go as he goes in terms of leading the charge. So really, really hurts right now in Austin. I mean, that is just three guys that you never want to see go down, never want to see anybody go down, but three key pieces on your roster that you hope can get back before, their projected timeline of returning. But ultimately, it is never good news to have these guys go down or have anybody go down in fall camp and fall scrimmages. So to recap, Junior Angilau likely done for the year. Isaiah Neyor likely done for the year. And Roschon Johnson sounds like a less serious injury, could be 4 to 6 weeks, but we're going to keep you updated here on what his timetable is for returning. So they're having to adapt in Austin, having to have younger guys step up, having to shift the load around, but Steve Sarkisian is a football wizard. If anybody can do it, I think it's him, and excited to see how they respond and how they bounce back. So still some reason for optimism in Austin, but these injuries definitely hurt you and definitely a heartbreaking thing for all these kids as they were heading into what was going to be an exciting 2022. So unfortunate, but that's it for us here on The Hard Count. Appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.